Alright guys, it was another week of game hunting, and I would say it was fairly successful. Had luck pretty much everywhere. Craigslist, thrift stores, and of course the swap meet. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the swap meet stuff. So the first, I went and walked rows and rows before I found this stuff, but here we go. Some NES games. So found this guy. This is where I found all those PlayStation 1 RPGs before. Same guy. This time he had just a little plastic bin filled with NES games. Most of which these games aren't really they're not like crazy rare. They're not rare at all, really. Just kind of some uncommon titles I wouldn't say you'd normally see. So yeah. Starters, we got Mechanized Attack. I have never heard of this game. It's a Lycan game, so I'm going to check it out. The Goonies 2. Super Pitfall. I didn't even know they made this for the NES, but definitely going to check it out. Strider. The Adventures of Dino Ricky. Kind of reminds me of the Joe and Max series by Data East. Lode Runner. Burger Time. Operation Wolf. And now, here's a game I thought might actually be worth something just because it was like a bootleg card, but that was not the right assumption, because, yeah, this one is actually, $2 on eBay, something like that. F-15 by American Video Entertainment. Whenever I see these things, I pick them up. I've only run across a couple, but, it came in its own little sleeve, seal of quality. Haven't played it, but I'm sure the game is not that good. Yeah. And I didn't say the title, but it's F-15 City War. Yeah, I always pick these up when I see them because they're just kind of cool to see. Anytime you just see a cart that's not great, it just immediately catches your attention. So, yeah, I got one in the past, Death Race, and that was actually turned out to be what I'm assuming to be kind of rare. It's like a $25, $30 game on eBay, so I was happy to find that one, and I was kind of hoping for the same luck on this, but not so much. And then last but not least, Kicks or Quicks by Taito. I don't know, it looks pretty interesting, and turns out this is actually like a $20 game, so I kind of scored on that deal. And I did pay $10 for that whole stack. Not $10, excuse me. $2 a piece, so 20. That was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I paid $2 each. Next up, I found an original Game Boy. Yeah, when I saw it, it wasn't in terrible condition. I don't know if you can see by the video, but the screen's not terrible. It's got a couple major scratches, but other than that, the screen's not that bad. Backside, that little barcode's kind of fading, and then there was some battery corrosion as well. When I initially tried to boot it up, it didn't work. After thoroughly cleaning the corrosion off there, it did end up playing. And also, from that same guy that I bought the NES games from, he had a little baggie full of Game Boy games. So these are from two different vendors, but one found the games, one just had the system. And the system just came with a copy of Tetris, so Nothing special. One of the games is already in there. Was Wario Land. So yeah, I also got what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, paid $1 a piece on those, whole bag for $8. So I usually like to pay about that for Game Boy games. So for starters, yeah, I had Wario Land, Terminator 2, Spider-Man and X-Men, Mortal Kombat. Gotta have Super Mario Land, The Hunt for Red October, Mortal Kombat 2, Tetris, and another copy of Tetris, the one that came with the Game Boy. See, that does work. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. I'm open to trade on this, or I might throw it up on eBay. Just get rid of it. I actually find it a big pain to play on that green and black screen. It's just a little bit too dated for me. I mean, I could have done it back in the day, but now playing just playing the games on like a Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance, it's just much better. Alright, next up, got just a couple games to add for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox collection. Metal Gear Solid 2, Star Wars Battlefront. Love Star Wars Battlefront. Like it much better on the PC, but I saw it. He had games 2 for $5. Didn't want to pass it up. Got these two. They were both complete as well. Alright. We got a few Genesis games. Alright, so, one thing I don't have included in the video because I got it hooked up to my other TV. I didn't feel like bringing it, but I found a Model 2 Genesis out at the garage sales. No controllers, had all the hookups though, and no games. So, yeah, the lady who was selling it said her son sold off all the games, but for whatever reason held on to the system. So, I picked up that from her for $5, so I was pretty happy about that. It was my first Genesis, so I was out the swap meets, I found a few games, and I got all these for $10. There was one more. So I got Sonic 2, of course, NBA Jam. I love that game on the Super Nintendo. I know it's like a sports title, but it's like one of the only fun sports titles out there. Sonic the Hedgehog, not for resale version. Golden Axe, and I also got a copy of Samurai Showdown, which I also don't have in here, but I did get those 5 games for $10. That was like the last of my money when I was at the swap meet, so that was all I picked up there. And then there was one Craigslist deal that I had saw the day of the swap meets, and I usually stick to the swap meet and skip garage sailing, but if there's anything I can hit on the way home, I usually do it. So this is what I found. It was a Craigslist ad actually advertising a garage sale that had, she said he had an NES and a Super Nintendo. So I was hoping I was going to be able to pick up both of them from her. But when I got there, that those were her highlighted items for the garage sale. I had a feeling she was going to value them kind of highly, so turns out I was correct. She wanted $40 for the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World and one controller. And she also had an NES. She had a bundle for $50 that had about, I think about 10 or 12 games for it, and she wanted $50 for that. And I tried kind of offering her I didn't really want the NES. I would like another Super Nintendo. I always look out for those. They're good to resell. Nice and easy to resell. Yeah, she wouldn't go down in price at all, but I did pick up a few games from her for a couple bucks a piece. So up here I got 1943 and a nice little Funko Land sleeve. Super Mario 3, got a little sticker on it there. Yeah, this is always just a really easy game to resell, kind of get some money back to help fuel my addiction. The Legend of Zelda, the Gray Card Edition. I've actually never owned one of these. I have both the gold cards and, yeah, never had the gray version, so, yeah. And then I also, I got 1942, which I have my NES right now, so didn't bring that one out in the video. And last but not least, I didn't know this game was kind of hard to find or valuable when I found it, but Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom. You know, the first two being relatively common titles, and they're just, you know, a few dollar games. But this goes on eBay for about like 25-30 bucks, so yeah, I was still glad I went to that garage sale. Didn't pick up any of the systems, but these games were definitely worth it. And as for garage sailing pickups, I went out Friday morning, didn't really find much, but here's what I did find. So one garage sale, I found these three right here, a copy of Pokemon Coliseum. It wasn't $10. She wanted $5 for it. I did give her that because it's like a $15-20 game. Unfortunately, it is a little bit messed up. I kind of got a little bit too excited when I bought it. Didn't check the condition. Yeah, big mistake on that one. I don't usually do that, but yeah, unfortunately, it's not in the greatest of shape, but it does play. So good on that one. And then I also found two NES games, Super Mario 2 and Galaga. I always love Galaga, so it's got this crappy magic marker on it, but I can get that off. It's just never fun to do. And then at another garage sale, the guy was selling some of his kids' GameCube games. You know, I spent a good while there. You know, they didn't have any video games at all. I asked. He said his son had some GameCube games he didn't really play anymore, and you know, he had a lot of good stuff like Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, Super Smash Bros. Yeah, but, you know, he had to consult his son. He was like 9 or 10 years old, so I didn't want to rob the kid of his games. So I just basically got to pick out the games that he didn't really play or want anymore. So I ended up getting these. One thing that did kind of tick me off is it kind of had me waiting outside. He was going like back and forth, trying to find the games. And then I was asked for the cases, and he went back and he found the manuals for a couple of them. But while he was in there, he had me kind of waiting for a while. He was actually looking up the prices on eBay to see what they were going for before we were gonna, like, you know, make a deal on them. And you know, he goes up and asks me, you know, how much did you want to pay for them? I'm like, oh, you know, like a few bucks a game. It's usually what I pay at garage sales. It's like, oh, well, I actually looked up this Pokemon Coliseum game, and you know, it's like a $15-20 game. It's like, I was like, oh no, here we go. He's gonna want some ridiculous amount for it, but he did end up going, you know, $3 a piece on the games. You know, Mario Baseball being, you know, just a game that's not very desirable, and then Mario Kart Double Dash, that's probably like about a $10 or $12 game or so. They're all in pretty decent shape. He said he threw out the cases to save space, but I was like, oh, it's just terrible. But he did keep the manuals from Mario Kart, Pokemon Coliseum. Couldn't find it for Mario Baseball, but I got those for $3 each. You know, 2 copies of Pokemon Coliseum in one day, so it's kind of cool. Also, one thing I forgot to show in my last video was Jungle Green Nintendo 64. And, you know, when I initially saw this, I was pretty excited to find it, but, I mean, no power cord, no AV cord, and God, here's the real terrible part. No expansion pack, not even a jumper pack, and then missing the little top cover for it. You know, they wanted like $25 for it. I'm like, dude, you don't have the cords. You don't have the cords, and you don't have the cables. I mean, I'll give you $10 for it. And, you know, they weren't having that. I said, $15, man, you don't have the cords. So they said if they found the cords, they would give them to me. So, you know, I went and bought it. You know, I had them hold it for me because I didn't want to carry it around. But, you know, come the end of the day, they didn't have any of the cords, not even like a jumper pack or anything to put in there. You know, being the Jungle Green one, should have had an expansion pack with it coming with Donkey Kong 64 and all that. So, I kind of think, you know, I got too excited that it was a Jungle Green Nintendo 64. Probably overpaid at $15 with literally, this is bare bones. There's, you know, nothing's here except the system itself. So, I think I paid a little bit too much for that, but I was still happy to get it. I mean, I'm going to hang on to it and get the cords, and I don't know where I'm going to find one of those cover pieces without paying like $15 for one on eBay. It's ridiculous. I mean, they'll charge you an arm and a leg for all these little accessories you may not have. It's just when you lose a power cable, it's going to be like $8 or $9. AV cables, those are cheap. Those are a dime a dozen. But the expansion packs and then the little plastic cover, I mean, I've seen those go online for like $15. It's a little piece of plastic. But I mean, you got to have it if you want your system complete, so they can kind of charge whatever they want for them. Alright, and then after the swap meet, I did go up to Goodwill, and I was hadn't found anything there in like almost since like the last week, like, so, you know, nothing. Was kind of excited to find these. First up, Nintendo 64. It's, you know, a little dirty. Didn't come with any of the cables. Yeah, they had that marked for $9.99 there at Goodwill. This one just came with the jumper pack. I did use my 25% off coupon on that, so that was $7.50. I mean, for Nintendo 64, for nothing with it, I would pay $7.50. I mean, hell, I paid $15 for the Jungle Green one, but I would say that was a mistake. But again, definitely worth it for a Nintendo 64. And then next up, what do you know? Another Nintendo 64. So, yeah, this one actually did have the power cord. This one's a little dirty, still need to clean it up. But here's the best part. Expansion pack. And even better was $6.99. So, $6.99 for a Nintendo 64 with a power cord and an expansion pack. I mean, I don't know how they do their pricing at Goodwill, but I mean, they see a system with none of the cables, marked at $9.99. One that at least has the power cord, they mark it for $3 cheaper. I mean, they must have someone different doing the prices all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain. $7 for that. That was a steal there. So, I was happy about that. And then I also picked up a bundle of Super Nintendo controllers. So, they got an official one here, taped to, you know, third-party, kind of crappy one. It was $3.99 for that, but I really wanted an extra Super Nintendo controller. I bought a multi-tap on eBay a couple months ago, wanted to play some Bomberman with my friends, so, yeah, invested in the multi-tap, and now I got 4 Super Nintendo controllers, so, yeah, don't know what I'm going to do with this third-party one, but just bought it for that. And then a couple other Super Nintendo games I found. At Goodwill. These were actually a while ago. Well, this one's Salvation Army, but A Super Smash TV. It's got a price sticker for $5.50. I did not pay that much. It was like half price because it's been sitting in the case for who knows how long. And it is super, super dirty. Still have to clean this up. And then I also found a Street Fighter 2 Turbo at Goodwill. This is 99 cents. Not going to complain there. It also had a Vector Man for Genesis. That one was $1.99. I know it was one of those must-have Genesis games, so I picked that up. And then here's the thing that I was most proud of this week. I mean, there's a ton of good stuff on Craigslist in these past couple weeks, but seriously, it just, no one was emailing me back, or the prices were just too darn high for what they were asking. But here's the one good thing I managed to pick up this week from Craigslist. Box Super Nintendo. The box is in okay shape. If I were to give it a grade, I give it like a C. Well, like a C minus, because it's got some tape on the side there and then some writing on the box. But yeah, saw this on Craigslist, you know. The guy, you know, he wanted $60 for it. I offered him 40. He took it. He's just, you know, he was in need of money, so he was selling it. He wasn't like a reseller, but I mean, he had an idea of the value. I know $40 isn't like a crazy good deal on one of these, considering they go for like 50 or 60 online. But just the fact that I'm not going to have to pay shipping costs on that, and yeah, I just like to do this stuff in person. Yeah, I went and picked that up from him. I texted him, asked him if he had any more games. He said he had a list. He sent me the list. It was a bunch of sports games. And, you know, the last two games he lists are Shadowrun and Secret of Evermore. And I was like, oh, hell yes. He's got Secret of Evermore. I was so happy to have not had that game yet. When he busted out, you know, he went and looked on the prices online on eBay. And, you know, he said Shadowrun was like a $30 game. And I had never heard of Shadowrun before. I have it in my drawers here. I don't have it with me, but I did pick up Shadowrun from him. Yeah, those are two games I was interested in. He said he saw Secret of Evermore going for $90 in the box, and it was complete. But I was not going to be able to pay him that much. He's like, oh, I'll do half of that, like $45. So he's going to doing like half a retail for me, so that was still too much for me. You know, it's like, that's as much as I was paying for the system. And you know what, I went home. I mean, I did end up picking up Shadowrun from him for $10. You know, that's like an easy, like a $30 game online. So I was happy to pick that one up. I mean, I'd never heard of it, but I had heard of it, but I didn't know much about it at all. So I just pick it up knowing that it was going to be a good deal. You know, I went home, I did some research on the Secret of Evermore. $45 actually on the high end for what they were selling for. So I texted him back and I offered him, you know, half of they were selling for like $45 on the high end. So I offered him $20. He decided to hold on to it. I mean, I don't really blame him, but I just thought I could try and get the game out of him. But, you know, it's just, I can't spend all my money on games, so yeah, it didn't end up working out, but I was happy with this. The system is unfortunately slightly yellowing on the bottom, even though this thing is probably just sat in here. The cables and the controller are still in the plastic wrap, so the system looks great other than some yellowing. Yeah, I don't know, I'm working the camera with one hand, so I'm not going to bust out of the box, but if you guys want to see it, I'll throw it in the next video. Yeah, this video ended up way longer than my last one, surprisingly, because I kind of rifled through everything quicker. Had more stories this time around since I could remember them, so if you guys like the stories, then I'll keep telling them, but if you just want to see the pickups, I can cut them out. And I have some ideas for videos coming up in the future, trying to want to make this better. Oh, and one last thing I did forget, I do these unrehearsed. There was one big miss at a thrift store, and I do have some footage of that. I'll show you guys at the end here. Alright, thanks for watching. God, this is what I missed out on here at Salvation Army by my house. I guess the lady said they probably sold it. She doesn't know for sure. She wasn't 100%, but I guess I left the box behind. I mean, it was absolutely tore up, but I don't know. It might be worth it to someone, but not me. That thing was a little bit too torn up for my taste.